In DC, for DC. DC Radio, 96.3 HD4 and DCRadio.gov.
Thank you, deep voice person with a funky backbeat. Indeed, this is not a council hearing, this is hearing the council. You can't have a government without a council, so you can't have a government radio station without a council show. This is it. We're coming to you from the Train Track Enclosed Nerve Center that's the headquarters of the Office of Cable TV, Film, Music, and Entertainment. It's also the historic headquarters of Black Entertainment Television, so it's an honor to be here. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today to celebrate this thing called the Council. I'm Josh Gibson, Director of Communications for the Council. You may also know me as the Council's voice on social media, at Council of DC. Here at the Council, our communications goal is to engage with residents in an informative, conversational, and sometimes even enjoyable way. You know, if you follow us on Twitter, we're believers in the Mary Poppins School of Communications. A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. We want to make it easy for average residents to understand what the Council does. We're demystifying our work and the people who do it. Remember, the DC Council's just like your workplace, except with the dais. On the show, we'll try to keep things light, offbeat, informal, and interesting. You'll learn about policy, learn about people, learn about history, and learn about the institution. Listeners, we've now begun our 5th round of interviews with council members. The older interviews are available, as always, on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. However, our more recent interviews are now also available on iHeartMusic, Google Play, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, or on the DC Radio app. The earlier interviews focus mainly on getting to know the council members' backgrounds, successes, struggles, and the people who shape and surround them. In the 5th round, we continue to broaden things out, tackling issues that interest the council members and me. And today we have a doozy of a topic. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's Alyssa.
That's Amore.
Who is our guest today. And when I reached out and asked for a topic, I should have known to expect something cutting edge, since we did DC music with an in-studio guest last time. But when the answer came back pizza, I have to admit I was surprised.
So, Josh, actually, that song makes me think of the movie Moonstruck.
Yeah.
And that probably should be our next topic, which is favorite, maybe, DC movies.
Moonstruck's a DC movie?
It's not a DC movie, but it's a great movie with Nicolas Cage and Cher. But maybe our next topic should be about DC movies. I had not thought of that.
You're the boss, and you are truly the boss because, as we've discussed, you are now the queen of Hearing the Council ratings. You have the highest rated single episode in the history of the show.
I wore my sunglasses into the studio because
I felt
it was appropriate.
Just to distract the fans from lining up outside. But yeah, we're up to, I think it's about 50 episodes.
Well, I want to thank all my fans for listening.
Absolutely. Well, keeping it fresh and interesting, and by having pizza as your topic, I think you're going to do that.
Wonderful.
Now, to the folks who only know me from radio, I have to let you know, I weigh 110 pounds, soaking wet. I don't even eat food. I just absorb moisture from the air like a succulent plant. So this will be not just my first time having pizza, but my first time eating solid food today. Okay. So you're taking me a little out of my comfort zone. That's a joke. I love eating, and I love pizza.
It's sometimes hard for me to discern whether that's a joke or serious.
I get that a lot.
Okay.
Sadly. But anyway, so talk to me about what brought you to the topic of pizza.
Yeah, let's talk pizza, Josh. So to give a visual picture, so first, let me make sure that I don't hit the hazards that other politicians have. I believe that Mayor de Blasio was talking about pizza recently, and he named the best pizza in New York City, which irritated all the 1,000 other great pizza places in New York City. So I really just want to talk about pizza because the Washington Post, Tim Carmen, one of the food writers at the Washington Post, recently wrote this week about how D.C. is a pizza city and named the area's top 10 pizza places. And I went back into the archives of my memory, and as well as the internet, and went back and found an article. I know you always enjoy talking about my other lives before I became a council member, Josh. And as many listeners know, I wrote for the city paper in one of those other lives. So in February 4th, 2000, I wrote a story called Pie in the Sky, What's It Take to Get a Decent Slice Around Here? And just to read a little bit for our listeners, I talked about, there are some indignities of district life, like parties on Capitol Hill and Metro, closing at midnight, not having members of the House and Senate. But there's one thing that really, truly bothered me, and this was probably my 4th or 5th year of living in the district, that I couldn't get a good slice of pizza. And it really shows, again, how the city has changed. Because I listed the pizzas that I had access to. And it's really a walk down memory lane. Let's see if you remember these places, Josh. So I said, after eating more than my fair share of yellow crusted Trios pizza, do you know where Trios was, Josh?
Yeah, it was 17th Street and the location Adams Morgan.
That's true. A soggy pizza at Venice. Do you remember Venice?
Do not.
That was on Connecticut Avenue in Woodley Park. And then there's Grease-Soaked Pizza Mart, which I still believe is in Adams Morgan.
Oh, yes. They sell a piece or two.
The Mega Slice. And I could go on and on, but there wasn't really a good slice of New York-style pizza. Now, there was other posers. Again, walk down memory lane here. Millie and Al's. You remember Millie and Al's?
Right, and we might need to agree to disagree on this one.
Oh, you liked Millie and Al's.
Right, and just listeners, you should know that if you think the council member prepares any less for one of these interviews, even on pizza, than she does for an oversight hearing, you would be wrong. Because she and I are both sitting here with printouts of the article she wrote and the Tim Carmen article.
Oh, wonderful. So I loved Millie and Al's. And for
as
drinks.
A venue, not for the pizza.
I always remember that one of the servers wore a T-shirt, Die Yuppie Scum. That was one of my favorites. But let me just say, to defend my side, that the sentence I have here is, Millie and Al's, even when you're drunk, this simply sucks.
And my argument would be, I think it was Mondays was half-price pizza night.
That's
so
right.
Maybe that was a bit of was influencing my decision.
So I tried DC Superior Court's pizza. I think actually DC Superior Court has closed its cafeteria, or it's severely limited now. That I considered not bad, apparently. There was Volare. Do you remember Volare?
I definitely do.
On S Street. Let's see here. I didn't really think very highly of it. And then Star Pizza, which those who live in Ward 7 know that it was in the Penn Branch Shopping Center. Now, I don't think Star Pizza is there anymore. The sign still is. And then I do remember the distinct Chef Boyardee nature of that pizza.
Yeah. Now, I want to skip ahead a little to your next paragraph. We're following along if you have your hymnal in front of you. The next paragraph, I would like you to read the entirety of that paragraph aloud, starting with I've never, because I just think it'll make for good audio.
I've never really had pillow-clutching, deep REM sleep about it, but I do admit to the occasional daydream right before lunch. The sunburn-like brown skin that you can puncture with a flick of the fingers, the distinct snap of the crust when you fold it in half, the slightly orangey yellow small faucet-like drip, and now we actually have some audio here. I got a slice right here. The slightly orangey yellow small faucet leak drip of grease that colors the fingernails you now wish you had trimmed the day before. Oh, and the bubble, that beautiful wart somewhere near the crust. That's the slice I lust after.
You're welcome, listeners. You'll have that audio forever now. Now, So how do you think things have changed? And also, because we're big into disclaimers these days at the council, did you and Tim Carman overlap at your time at the city paper?
No, we did not.
Okay, so there's no...
I was, oh my gosh.
So he's not technically a former colleague?
No, he is not a former colleague of mine.
Okay, just wanted, disclosures are key, so I wanted to get that out there. But there is no disclosure, so we're good. So what was your take on Tim's article in yesterday's paper?
Okay. So, well, first of all, we had to eliminate three of the 10 because they're in places like Darnestown and Kensington. Yeah, so they're non-DC. So
one was pre-retrocession DC, which is a slightly different category, but still has to be excluded.
Yes. As the historian at the table, I will give you that one. So there are 7 contenders here. So only one, though, is sells by the slice, and that's Vache. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about, I have a lot of love for Vache in Ward 3 on Connecticut Avenue. But Vache has a very interesting take on the pizza slice, and I have a theory about Vache. So Vache puts the sauce, as you probably know, above the cheese.
Right, as one would do in a Chicago-style pizza.
Well, we'll talk about that soon, because then there's this Detroit pizza that we need to chat about. But so Vache tastes great when you're there. It's delicious. When you put it in a box, though, I wonder whether the insulation of the cheese, by putting the cheese underneath the sauce, it impacts whether it cools quicker. Because, the cheese insulates the pizza a little bit more.
It's like a pizza quilt.
Perhaps.
That keeps the heat under.
Yes, okay. Yes, that's a very nice imagery.
Thank you.
So Vache is, I would say, the most old school, and I believe it was mentioned in my 2000 article. So you got to give super big points for Vache for being a long-standing good pizza institution in the city. Definitely. And reasonably priced. That's important to me.
And their frozen pastas are also lovely.
Very good. Casa de Pasta, I believe.
Maybe.
Yes.
Okay. It's like dueling banjos of obscure foodie knowledge.
Oh, well, I love reasonably priced food in our city. There's more of it recently, but Vache has been a long-standing good place.
And I have to say, I hate to. A lot of the council members, when they're on, will not want to name a favorite business because they, like you said,
right.
Like
it's
with De Blasio,
but
don't want to.
There's a lot of good places.
But I will take that risk in terms of I work for all the council members, and so I shouldn't favor any of the council members over the others. But Councilmember Silverman, whenever she has to provide food at community events or staff events, always provides the good stuff. There's bullfrog bagels at breakfasts. There's an event tomorrow I'm trying to figure out if I can sneak my way into that has Ted's Bulletin Donut Holes and Compass Coffee.
Ted's Bulletin Donut Holes, which is...
And that's the mark of a foodie, is you don't just want to bring in Lender's generic bagels. And
food is the way to the heart and the way to good policy, Josh. So that's
right
why
that's
why I do think that, actually. I value good, well-made, tasty, and reasonably priced food. I am always on the hunt for great places. Actually, one of the pizza places that I have not tried, and it's truly because I'm not hungry, and when I am in that area, is Mama's Pizza in Ward 8 on MLK Avenue. I've been told is very good sliced pizza, but I'm either there like early in the morning or I've already had dinner. So Mama's is on my list of places to go.
Gotcha. So you mentioned earlier and it sounded like it was a complicated issue. You were going to talk about Detroit pizza, which is new to me,
right,
and to the district,
and apparently to people who lived in Detroit. So this has been a trend that we have several what is called Detroit pizza places. So the one that Tim Carmen highlights here is Red Light Bar in Ward 2, 14th and R. My understanding of Detroit pizza is that it's sort of like a Sicilian slice. And when I grew up in Baltimore, we would call it a Sicilian slice. So this is somewhat thick crust, rectangular, so made in a tray. But I guess what Tim says, according to Chef Naomi Gallego, is to use Wisconsin brick cheese. She says that's the key to the Detroit pizza. Yeah, it's focaccia-like. So I would say that is focaccia. I'm not sure that it's pizza, but I haven't tried it, and I am very open-minded. Always interested in new experiences, so I certainly look forward to trying the pepperoni pizza at Red Light Bar.
And I will say what jumped out at me in that one too was they talk about Tim talks about the Wisconsin brick cheese, and says, quote, which releases oil as it cooks. That oil in turn finds its way to the edges of the pan, putting a crispy edge on the focaccia-like pizza. The crackle is vital. And I will say that got my mouth watering. I was reading this prior to lunch. And I also should point out, speaking of disclosures, that Tim Carmen has been in my home.
Oh, okay.
It was a long time ago, but I don't think we can keep recording. But if I was holding you to that standard, it occurred to me a little later that I should point that out.
So I'll point out that we have a number of wards represented in Tim's story. We certainly have represented. We just mentioned Ward 2. There's 2 Amy's. In Ward 3, we have Timber, which is really excellent, in Ward 4. And then there is Della Barba, which I have not tried yet, at Union Kitchen in Ward 5. Or, I'm sorry, maybe it's Stellina. And Stellina. So Ward 5's coming in with 2 places.
But what I noticed, Ward 3, there are 2 places just in Cleveland Park. Because Vache and Tino's, which are like doors away from each other.
So there's actually 3 places in Cleveland Park. So Tino's, which is on Connecticut, Vache, which is across the street, and then 2 Amy's, which is the Wisconsin side of Cleveland Park.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if Cleveland Park went that far. But yeah, Cleveland Park is strong in the
So
in the
Ward
pizza.
3 is coming in with 3 pizza places. Ward 6, it looks like Ward 6, 7, and 8 do not have representation. And there's good pizza in Ward 6. As I said, I did not have the best experience at Star Pizza in Ward 7. And as I said, Mama's Kitchen is on my list for Ward 8.
And because I'm thinking of not a traditional pizza place, but We the Pizza is in Ward 6.
Now there you go, Josh. That's what I want to mention. So, my issue, I look forward to trying the places that I haven't been to in Tim's article, but I really am interested in the slice pizza. And I am a fan of Spike Mendelssohn's We the Pizza. On Pennsylvania Avenue and Ward 6. Because sometimes what's great about it is, say you're going with somebody and you want pizza, but despite everyone thinking that I'm a vegetarian, I'm not really sure why. I am a voracious meat eater, though conscious of the carbon footprint and the impact of energy consumption of meat. But I do enjoy a pepperoni slice, which I just did prior to the broadcast. But say you're dining with somebody who's a vegetarian. Well, that gives you the ability to have a slice. They can have their slice of veggie pizza. I'm usually a pizza minimalist, though I have to say, so I did, I should let listeners know, we brought in some Wise Guy pizza. Now, Wise Guy is in various locations. They have a Ward 6 location. They're at 3rd and H, which I think would be in Ward 2, if I'm not mistaken. They're also in GW, and then we don't really care that they're in Roslyn for this broadcast.
We do not.
Although if you live in Georgetown, you could hop the bridge to get a slice from them.
Yeah.
But, I agree with you. There's some great slices in Ward 6. We the Pizza being one of them.
Do we think that our pizza status, recently improved but long struggling, has anything to do with the fact that D.C., to the best of my knowledge, is not a hub of Italian immigration the way a New York or a Philly or a Baltimore might have been?
Although we did have, as you know, an Italian-American community right near Judiciary Square.
Right. But I feel like
we would have hoped for maybe a legacy
smaller
there, which is right near, actually, Wise Guys. That probably is a factor. There's a lot of great Italian restaurants now in the district, and here we go, Josh. Here's one, memory lane. What was the place that had all opera at the corner of New York Avenue and 6th? I believe Justice Scalia used to go there a lot.
Yes, a haunt of Justice Scalia's, and then it went on to be the theater festival.
That's right. Can we think of the name of it?
AV Ristorante.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of the name of the theater festival. The art
Fringe.
festival. Fringe. Yeah, Fringe. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah, AV's. That place was... So they had pizza. Their pizza wasn't bad. They had a great bar. They had this beautiful marble bar at AV, and at least my memory is they only played opera.
I think that's right. Because Scalia was an opera fan as well as Italian American.
Yeah.
So a couple questions. We're already running short on time.
Oh my goodness.
Host prerogative. I'm going to list my favorite pizza places.
Okay.
Only one of which is in D.C. Sadly, which is, I don't know if you've tried Astor. Which from when you worked in Adams Morgan, they do Mediterranean food, Greek food, but their pizza is actually pretty darn tasty.
Now,
I don't think they do slices.
Greek
but I'd
pizza
put that
is
on
generally
your
sweet, has a sweeter tomato sauce.
I don't remember that being true because I wouldn't like sweeter tomato sauce.
Okay.
So anyway, Astor is on my list of places I like. No, not by the slice, I don't think. And then 3, I grew up in Montgomery County, so this could be some nostalgia
Lido?
speaking, but no. Stained Glass Pub by the Glenmont Metro.
Oh yes, I've heard of Stained Glass Pub.
Sold Italia, a little further from the Glenmont Metro, and Amalfi's in Rockville, which had a fantastic white pizza, which is its own thing. But anyway, just listeners, if you feel like a road trip, sadly outside D.C., but I wanted to throw those out there. So have you ever shared pizza with any of your colleagues? Have you ever sat down with a colleague over pizza?
I want to answer yes.
And do you know, are there any other fellow pizza? If you're a listener to this show, you would know of at least one, which I will share with you shortly if you don't come up with it. Pizza
David
aficionados. Yes.
Well, David has an Italian-American family, I believe, or heritage, so that makes sense to me. And he also appreciates good food.
And grew up on a farm, and apparently they made their own tomato sauce. They would jar it in the summer and eat it forever and ever. And he said after they moved off the farm, I think it was 3 years before they finished the tomato sauce, they had bottled before they left. And he is not an eater of sweets. So on his birthday, his mom would make him a birthday pizza.
Oh, wow. I'm not a big sweets eater either. So I did not know. We were sitting together earlier today waiting for a fiscal impact statement to mark out some bills. I should have talked to him about pizza.
Absolutely. I think you guys can bond on pizza. So I think we're going to move. Do you have any final comments on pizza? I think we got to most of what I wanted to cover.
Well, I'm just excited that we are a good pizza town. I do think there's room for more sliced pizza. It's a terrific food. You have vegetables. You can't have vegetables. And delicious bread. And I think this is the question I pondered 20 years ago is it the water? Right? So
I know that's a theory for the bagels in New York.
Well, it's a bread product. So, is the water a factor? Is DC water a factor, perhaps, in our pizza deficit? And I think the answer now is firmly no. You can use DC water and make delicious pizza, great bagels, as you mentioned. We have more and more bagel places. I would still say on sub sandwiches, and depending if you grew up here or if you grew up in Philly, I guess it's a grinder. I would still say there's a lot of room for a really good Italian sub sandwich. Like I have to say, one of my favorite places, and I'm heartbroken it's closed, is Philly Wing Fry. I don't know if you tried Philly wing fries, cheesesteak. Oh, Josh, you are missing out. It was so delicious. He had 2 locations. This is, I think it's Kwame Awanuchi.
Yeah.
So
Kith and Kin.
He has Kith and Kin now, but he had 2 cheesesteak places, one in the Whole Foods near the baseball stadium, I guess it's Navy Yard, and one at Union Market. And so just like I wrote in my pizza story, after I had his cheesesteak sub, I dreamed about this. It was so good. The bread would have made it even better. Like, it was okay, but I hope he reopens Philly Wing Fry, because that was just a delicious sandwich.
Yeah, it's a shame that I missed it.
But like Bub and Pops in Ward 2 on 18th and M, that's a delicious sandwich.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever been there.
I definitely have a little hole in the wall. Sadly, I'm going to have to pull us off food and go to the fun closing questions.
Okay, here we go.
Because I think you're going to love this one.
Yeah.
So the last episode we did the who do you think would be the best council member for this or that odd job, assembling IKEA furniture, or, that kind of stuff.
Charles Allen, definitely on the IKEA furniture.
Now we're going to take that another step. I want you to build a good Frankenstein monster council member out of the best parts of your colleagues. So I want you to say, if you were building a perfect council member, take parts of your colleagues.
I mean, they're not perfect already?
Well, in their own way, they are. But I want you to take, X's sense of humor, X's wisdom.
Drop the mic, Josh. I don't think I can do better than that.
Oh, come on. You're someone who actually will answer this question without being afraid you're going to hurt anyone's feelings by
well, I'm going to
emphasize
the many strengths of my colleagues.
Oh, come on. You're not going to
I am. Everyone has good strengths.
But you're not going to say Mary Chay's sense of humor. Or
actually, Mary has I sit next to Mary on the dais. She has a very good sense of humor. She loves cat videos, by the way.
Okay, I don't think we knew that.
Loves cat videos. Oh, get her going on cat videos and weird animal stories.
Okay.
Yes. See, there's a lot that you don't know about the council.
True.
It's many more episodes.
But you're really leaving me hanging on someone's institutional knowledge, someone's honesty, someone's...
I think there are many strengths.
And you can do former council members as well, if that helps.
Oh, well, that would really be wide-ranging here. Well, let's see. As I sit next to Councilmember Che, certainly her knowledge of the Constitution. She always thinks I'm making fun of her because I'll say, like, okay, Professor Che. But actually, it's extremely helpful. We were just having a discussion about the False Claims Act and key TAM lawsuits, not something that's generally a part of dinner party conversation. And Councilmember Che was just able to explain it to me in very plain English what it was. Then Councilmember White sits on the other side of me, and I would say, well, he's a tea drinker.
This would be Trayon
Councilmember
White.
Trayon White. He's a tea drinker. I'm trying to think of something great. He does have a very good sense of humor, especially in text messages. He's very funny. And I don't know. You want to pick out a council member, and I'll tell you what I think is a strength.
That sounds profoundly risky to me. And actually, we are running out of time.
Councilmember Todd, terrific dresser.
Yeah.
Right. Always put together, coordinated. Councilmember Bonds, a lot of people don't know she was a chemist. I think was all but dissertation, and maybe got her PhD from Berkeley.
Yeah, she and Mayor Barry were our two scientists in terms of academic training. Okay, so
and I'm only picking my side of the dais because, on the other side of the dais, as you know from photographing, what is the deal with your photographs? You always catch us in these weird positions and facial gestures, Josh. Is there some
story.
Kind of logic
and there is a story. There is.
All right.
That I'm not allowed to favor any council members. So my photos have to feature all 13 council members, which is impossible in a single photo from one end to the other of the dais. So I have to take 13 individual photos during every council meeting. So I take a bunch of pictures of each you, but to get 13 keeper photos at each meeting is tough. But I have to say, there are fans of those photos because they are little like vignettes of the meeting. And
yes, that's what I was wondering, whether you're trying to tell a story through those 13 faces.
Usually not. Usually not.
I try to smile the entire meeting because I know you're there snapping photos.
And you are one of the more photogenic council members. I will not list the people at the other end of the spectrum. But sadly, I'm getting the wrap it up signal.
Oh, my goodness.
From Jessica, our engineer, who got her own
We
piece
gave
of
Jessica
pizza.
a
Thanks
slice.
so
We want to
much
keep everyone happy.
to the council member who brought pizza for us and for our engineer here at DC Radio. So anyway, folks, sorry, but we're going to have to wrap it up. And who knows what council member will think of for
well, we're doing movies. We're doing movies. We've already
for
decided.
round 6. It's already done. We'll get to work. Well, thank you, listeners, for joining us. Tune in again next time. We're at DC Radio at 96.3 on your HD4 dial or at dcradio.gov. I'm Josh Gibson, and this is not a council hearing. This is Hearing the Council. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Josh.
pizza. Enjoy pizza, people. Bye.
In DC, for DC, DC Radio, 96.3 HD4, and dcradio.gov.